Disclaimer. Do not send any type of harassment or negativity towards the creators that I review. This includes hateful comments, mass paying the creators, dislike spamming, and toxic videos about them. This video is for entertainment purposes, and even then, what I say could be wrong, so please take my videos with a grain of salt. Enjoy! So it seems like more than one person in the comments is requesting me to review this hybrid war submission, or is it even a submission? I don't really know, but it's a hybrid war video anyway, so let's begin.
Showtime.
A crocodilian build, which isn't really an ideal build to defeat the Indominus 2.0, but anyway, let's continue.
Alright, everyone settle down. I said settle down. Quiet. Good. Now we can begin. I want to thank all of you for attending our patron's call. The doctor has a new project in store for us, for his kid.
And spoiler alert, it's going to be another hybrid to attempt to take down the Indominus 2.0. How many hybrids are there to try and take down the Indominus 2.0 at this point? There has to be at least 200 of them. Anyway, let's continue this because, yes?
And I assure you, we will deliver. Today's assignment will be the analysis of the skull fragments our doctor has collected from the forest of Oh, one moment, please. Yes? Yes, my doctor. Yes? What?
I'm guessing bro's talking about the Indom 2.0, which has already been terrorizing every single one of those great hybrid war hybrids that are getting destroyed left and right by the Indom 2.0, which can actually probably dance or something.
Change of plans. A hybrid. For a contest. But doctor, I don't understand. Surely what we're doing now is of greater precedence. What could possibly be more important at this time than...
By the way, I edited the Indom 2.0's roar so that it roars like Windows XP. This is just for comedic effect, by the way.
Ah, I see. Yes, I understand. We'll get on it right away. Well, my chemkin, things seem to have taken an interesting turn. Tell me, who here wants to make a monster?
Well, it's still going to be an animal, but at this point, yeah, it's a fictional creature, so you can call it a monster if you want to.
Welcome, my creature connoisseurs, my allies in the monstrous. Welcome. My name is
The Ice Wizard from Clash Royale. Today, I'm going to be incorporating myself into a gigantic monster's human DNA that is going to defeat the Indominus 2.0 and not be in the hole of
Valis Dreadmere. And welcome to my little clinic. Today, we have an exciting challenge ahead of us. We have been tasked with creating a hybrid creature capable of matching the likes of Goji Center's very own genetic marvel, the Indominus Rex version 2.0.
By the way, it will have a scientific name, which starts with an M as a genus name and an L as a species name. Let's get you all in the comments. Guys, let me know in the comments what you think the Indominus 2.0's genome name, genus and species name is. It starts with an M for genus and L for the species.
My kin and I have been working extensively to compile the necessary information, research, and components necessary to make a creature that would be fit for the task. Against a demon like this, I'm reminded of one of my favorite quotes. In order to fight monsters, we created monsters of our own.
You know, it's kind of a wrong way to go about it. Matt Lee said that in order to challenge a super carnivore, you need a super herbivore, which is exactly what I did.
Of course, no giant mechs here today. Just blood, bone, and genetics. Finally, a few goals I want this creature to meet, just to keep things interesting. Number 1, it must be able to beat the Indominus 2.0 at least 50% of the time. After all, what's the point then?
I think Goji Center said that the best hybrid in the hybrid war is not necessarily the strongest, but it's extremely unique and also extremely capable of defeating the Indom 2.0.
Number 2, it must follow all of Goji Center's contest rules, naturally. Number 3, we will be using less components than the original Indominus 2.0. And number 4, we will keep shared components and attributes between the two creatures to a minimum, just to make sure things feel different and a little original.
And also more congruent. Goji Center really emphasized on a hybrid's congruity when it comes to, could a hybrid work at all?
You got all that? Good. Now then, with all that out of the way, we can begin with our first component, the Dinosuchus. With a crocodile as the base for our dinosaur-killing hybrid, I figured, why not start with a crocodile that did kill dinosaurs?
Keep in mind though, that this is not just a dinosaur. This is Indom 2.0, and I don't think a crocodilian is an optimal build for the Indom 2.0, because the Indom 2.0 could simply just grab onto the crocodilian and then just start slashing away like how the Spinosaurus slashes away at the time-traveling Caprosuchus from Monsters Resurrected. In short, the 2.0 can simply just manipulate the creature.
From Dinosuchus, we can pull a plethora of valuable traits. These will include great size, excellent swimming ability, various senses, armor, and resilience. Let's start with the size. To match a creature just as large as the Indominus 2.0, our hybrid will have to be sufficiently large itself, with the big croc having weights and lengths approaching some of the largest and heaviest theropods to ever exist. I felt this was a good place to start.
Bro, you really don't have to increase its size if you're using a gigantic Dinosuchus hatchery. With this in mind, you can just theoretically use the African dwarf croc.
For locomotion, a powerful tail for propulsion through the water, while strong, albeit short legs, haul its great mass onto the land. Keen senses akin to most modern crocodilians, including an array of dermal pits across the body and focused along the snout for the detection of even the smallest vibrations, whether in the water or on dry land.
But the problem is that the 2.0 also has very strong senses thanks to the T-Rex genome. And if it dares to even take a step near the Indom 2.0, it's going to notice it. So an ambush is going to be way less likely.
Tough scales and bony osteoderms across the entire body act as built-in armor. And of course, this is a crocodile we're talking about. We can't forget the bite. With an estimated bite force ranging from the low end greater than any modern day crocodile to a high end potentially greater than the tyrant lizard king's own deadly bite.
I will not deny that the Dinosuchus will win against a T-Rex, But to just put it to the Indominus 2.0, the Indominus 2.0 will basically use any unhinged way to just mold the Dinosuchus to make it unrecognizable. I mean, the Indominus 2.0 has those 8 arms which are just going to mangle this thing without mercy.
The Dinosuchus has a crushing bite force that, with its strong conical teeth, should be perfect for crushing and grabbing onto anything that it gets a hold of, then subsequently tearing them apart with another one of its deadliest techniques, the death roll.
Here's another problem. Because of the short-tailed shrew genome, the Indom 2.0's reflexes are going to be quite a bit faster. Not necessarily short-tailed shrew level, but it's going to be able to dodge or just grab the Dinosuchus just in time. The death roll, on the other hand, okay, I will not oppose anything about the death roll.
This spinning motion would be more than fatal, with entire limbs and chunks of the body ripping from the prey in mere moments. Now, while the death roll is primarily designed to be used in water to support the crocodile's great bulk, there have been numerous accounts of it using the same technique on land, albeit to a much slower degree, though just as devastating effects. A technique Dinosuchus was likely able to do as well.
Fair enough. It's a better choice in this regard than something like a Caprosuchus, which cannot even do the death roll. So I'll give him props. But anyways, Dinosuchus, then again, Dinosuchus is still not really an optimal build to attack the Indominus 2.0 with.
This leads me to our final attribute I want to talk about: resilience. The crocodilian family as a whole is quite hardy when it comes to unfavorable climates, habitats, disease, and even enduring against the venom of numerous snakes that they prey on.
And here's the problem. It's going to have to face the Indominus 2.0 with the venom application of the shrew, which basically means just continuously thrashing and biting instead of carefully applying venom. So it's going to be a problem.
Physically, crocodiles have been seen on numerous occasions to survive encounters where they've lost limbs, tails, and jaws. With all this together, this will make our hybrid a veritable tank that will take a mountain of punishment before he goes down. For our next species, we'll be using another ancient crocodile to enhance the base of our Dinosuchus, though for a set of attributes completely different to what we already have now. For our second component, we'll be using Caprosuchus.
Caprosuchus is quite an interesting genome. Is it to provide the height for the hybrid, or is it to provide more armor? I feel like providing more armor would be nice.
Also known as the boar croc, Caprosuchus will be bringing 2 distinct features to our specimen, starting with the head. Alongside 2 distinct crests near the back of the skull and its fearsome appearance. The boar croc's most distinct features were the 3 sets of boar-like tusks lining its muzzle, notably larger than the rest of its teeth, able to pierce deep into muscle and through any organs within their reach.
Still wouldn't help that much against the Indom 2.0, but at least this croc now has a much more devastating bite that the Indom 2.0 can really feel the bite. So I'll give him credit for that. The Indom, if it manages to land a bite on the Indom 2.0, the Indom 2.0 is going to feel a lot of pain.
With teeth like that, on a hybrid like ours, we can guarantee that our bite will not only be one of the strongest, but one of the most fatal, as not only will its prey be crushed under massive pressure, but several sword-like teeth will puncture into vital organs akin to an Iron Maiden.
My approach, as well as a bunch of other honorable mentions approaches, was to just give hippo teeth. Just incorporate hippo incisors and canines. making the bite much more devastating and be able to pierce through organs. The boar stuff, the boar teeth, Caprosuchus teeth I mean, could help in piercing the Indom 2.0. I'll admit.
Of course, Caprosuchus wasn't simply unique just for its teeth. Take a look at its legs. Unlike the legs of most crocodiles, Caprosuchus's were notably longer and likely much better equipped for a more terrestrial lifestyle than its more waterlogged kin.
So the Caprosuchus in Ark can do the death roll, but in real life, would it even be possible? Because the Caprosuchus has longer legs and it's not even a crocodilian, so...
I want these legs to aid our lumbering beast, not only to move a bit faster, but to be able to swiftly turn, reposition, and even charge if needed, using its immense bulk as a battering ram. Coupled with its armored head and snout, our hybrid will be able to deliver slashing swings of its head, bulldoze obstacles out of its path, and even bludgeoning its foes, toppling them in the process.
Of course, Goji Center said that for every strength that you incorporate a creature with, there could be certain drawbacks. And while the Caprosuchus, I doubt it can actually do the death roll, the Caprosuchus's height could actually be a little bit helpful, at least because the Caprosuchus gives a bunch of height, means that Indom 2.0 is a little bit less likely to simply just grab hold, pin it down, and then some.
Now then, on to our third specimen, as well as our first specimen that isn't a crocodile, though you could say it's not too far off. Our third component will be the Mosasaurus.
But it's quite far off. The Mosasaurus limbs might affect the congruity of the creature, and the Mosasaurus is actually more closely related to snakes than crocs.
No, not that, but rather this. For this hybrid, Hoffman's Mosasaur will be contributing its size, powerful tail, and adept swimming ability to our concoction. This tail, in particular, was capable of propelling the Mosasaur through the water for surprise ambushes at incredible speeds.
I'm going to have to politely interrupt again. This is supposedly a terrestrial battle in a tropical climate, because it's Isla Nublada we're talking about. And this is not really an aquatic battle. So this guy, if it were to fight against Vex, okay, fine. But if this is the Indom 2.0 we're talking about, then again, it's not really allowed to fight Vex because its creature contributions have to be aquatic.
While this powerful tail couldn't do much to propel the Mosasaur outside of the water, I can assure you I have important plans for it later down the line with 2 more of our specimens. Now, I'm sure there will be questions, such as why aren't we just using the InGen Mosasaur? And why even use a Mosasaur when Dinosuchus is already the base? What does a Mosasaur even contribute to this case? My primary hesitancy to use any creatures from the Jurassic World or Park franchise simply comes down to an uncertainty and certain level of instability in their genome.
Which is fair, because basically every single creature in Jurassic Park has a bunch of modifications to their genome. For example, a bunch of dinosaurs have frog DNA in them. So, yeah, and the Indominus Rex, of course, that hybrid, it doesn't really count, but like the JP Brachiosaurus is genetically modified to grow and mature in just 2 years, instead of taking a much longer time to mature.
As impressive as these creatures may be, they are still clearly modified versions of the true species. These uncertainties might mess with our creature's natural congruency, and thus result in a less stable product. Better stick to what we know. As I intend to add several more fully terrestrial species to our hybrid's genetic makeup, I felt it necessary to include another giant aquatic predator that would help to enhance the existing features we already have.
So far, the contributors are Dinosuchus at the base, Caprosuchus, and the Mosasaurus. Which, the InGen Mosasaurus could actually be a benefit, given how gigantic the InGen Mosasaurus is. However, then it would have even less congruity, and then, of course, it might even land itself in the Hall of Shame, but at this point, it's probably not going to be in the Hall of Shame anyway. As long as, it's not AI generated or anything.
Our fourth species will be a familiar face, as well as the only truly shared species between our hybrid and the Indominus 2.0, Tyrannosaurus Rex.
T-Rex and crocodilian jaws? Okay. It's shown to the Indominus Rex that it might work. But at the same time, okay. If it were to incorporate the T-Rex vision into this creature, then I'll be happy.
Again, not that one, for the same reasons that we discussed with the Mosasaur. While I did consider other large theropods to avoid using the most popular dinosaurs and extinct animals for our list, for a hybrid like ours, the traits that the Rex brought were just simply too great to ignore. Of course, it would seem obvious that the reason we're including the T-Rex in the first place is for its world-renowned bite.
Okay, at least the guy is not getting hacked, because bro did not add Dunkleosteus jaws into a T-Rex bite, which is just going to destroy its own jaws.
While the small serrations along these rather large teeth and an impressive jaw structure will be incorporated in our hybrid, would you believe me when I say it's actually not the reason I decided to pick on the Tyrant King? In fact, the reason I picked Tyrannosaurus was for almost everything but the jaws.
Which is quite surprising. And it's probably my way of incorporating Tyrannosaurus as well. That's not the jaws, just the vision of the thing. Which is quite cool. Props to him.
And the arms, of course. Let me explain. T-Rex was one of, if not the heaviest theropod to ever walk the face of the planet. To support such a size, several adaptations were evolved to support its powerful build. Its heavily muscled legs and tail, connected by the catofemoralis muscle, would have allowed for efficient strides, while air sacs within the body improve oxygen distribution as well as vent off excess heat, reducing the risk of heat stroke and lactic acid buildup in the muscles.
Bro also knows a little bit of anaerobic respiration, which is cool. Anyways, for those of you who don't know anaerobic respiration, basically there are two types of fermentation. The first one is glucose turning into lactic acid, which is mostly in animals. The second one is about alcoholic fermentation, which means glucose turning into alcohol or ethanol, and releasing carbon dioxide as well. It's mostly seen in plants, as well as a bunch of fungi like yeast.
Considering the size and crocodilian build of our hybrid, these adaptations will be crucial to have the stamina and structural support necessary for combat. Finally, we'll be incorporating the T-Rex's excellent senses and above-average dinosaur intelligence. With a sense of smell considered the best amongst dinosaurs, and a large brain that, backed by extensive research, supported social cooperation and various complex behaviors, coupled with our hybrid's crocodilian senses and sensory pits. And this bruiser will not only be able to keep track of its opponent, but also have a mind to assess its situation. Critical skills when facing an opponent as crafty and as stealthy as the Indominus 2.0.
If you look at a bunch of submissions that made it to the honorable mentions, you'll see that Go Center excluded a bunch of these hybrids because they could get outsmarted by the Indom 2.0. Critical thinking skills are necessary to defeat the Indom 2.0 because the Indom 2.0 has a lot of advantages going for it. For example, the grappling of the Indom 2.0, as well as the short-tail shrew bite and all that. So there really isn't that much not smart animals can do.
Now that our hybrid has taken on the form of a true behemoth, I say it's time that we swap from offense to defense. Our next two species will be two of the most heavily armored herbivores to ever walk the earth. Their traits will not only bolster our heavy armor, but turn our hybrid's tail into a wicked auxiliary weapon.
However, it could compromise on its ability to death roll. Even if the Caprosuchus does not affect its ability to death roll, the two herbivores would. Yes, the armor does provide protection. I will not deny that. However, the fact that this guy incorporated armor, a creature that is supposed to death roll, is going to be a problem.
Our fifth and sixth components will be the Gastonia and the Saichania. Wait. I will allow the Dinosaur King reference, only because it's the right creature for the moment. Anyways, let's start with the Nodosaur, Gastonia. While not the largest of its class, the Gastonia's armored hide was lined with numerous osteoderms and sharpened spines going down its back and its flanks.
Okay, it is, in fact, okay. The Gastonia will provide a bunch more intimidating posture. Basically, just a more intimidating stance with a lot of intimidating armor. However, this is the Indom 2.0 we're talking about. It's not going to be scared. It's going to have almost no self-preservation instincts, and it's going to be able to manipulate the creature using the Gastonia's armor against it.
However, outside of its armor, its primary contribution will be its tail. Unlike their relatives, the Ankylosaurs, Nodosaurs lacked a tail club. However, in Gastonia's case, its long sweeping tail was lined with sharpened plate-like spines that were largest near the base of the tail and descended down its length.
The tail is a decent addition overall, because the Gastonia is just the Gastonia's tail, with this creature's generally low posture, it's not going to be easy to manipulate by the Indom 2.0.
I want these spines not only to protect our tail, but also to allow our massive tail to swing with great force, not only battering its opponents, but leaving deep gashes wherever it lands. The biological equivalent of adding barbed wire to a baseball bat. Saichania's contributions will also include its heavy armor, as well as an increased coverage of that armor across its flanks and forelimbs.
I feel like why this guy picked Saichania was because the Saichania was relatively robustly built compared to most other ankylosaurs, and the Saichania also does provide a bunch of armor, like other ankylosaurs, but it's more robustly built. So it could potentially increase the congruity and increase the bulk of the creature.
While this armor won't be as thick as the plates on the back to ensure our hybrid is still able to move properly, any set of claws or jaws attempting to target what should be a vulnerable area will be met with relatively hard scales and thorny osteoderms. Couple this with the Gastonia and Saichania's defensive behaviors to angle their bodies and swinging tails towards their attacker, and anything approaching our hybrid will have to face snapping jaws on one end, a sweeping barbed tail on the other, and in between, a wall of scale and spines.
Here's yet another problem. Bro kind of forgot about the chimpanzee arms of the 2.0. The 2.0 would potentially be able to just flip over the creature the other way around, which is just, it would be caught by surprise, and of course it would just die.
With our hybrid almost complete, it's time we add the finishing touches. For our seventh and final species, I present to you a conqueror, an invader, born of poison that brings giants to their grave, a ravenous beast fueled only by hunger and the extinction of all around it. The X Factor.
Okay, this guy, which is basically just a short-tailed shrew styled reveal. Or is it like a tree frog or something? It's not a tree frog, but it kind of gives me the vibe of Goji Center revealing the short-tailed shrew component in the Indom 2.0, catching everybody by surprise. The Indom 2.0, the shrew itself is just super small, but it just is the MVP of the Indom 2.0 at this point.
What? Hey, don't look at me like that. It's an X Factor, of course it was going to be weird. Goji Center used a shrew of all things. Anyways, yes, for my final species, I will be using the cane toad. Beyond its ravenous appetite and its rather grumpy appearance, the cane toad's primary contribution will be its poison-producing pores.
I'll give him this. The cane toad contribution does not suffer the same problem as the likes of, I don't know, like the pufferfish, and as well as the hooded pitohui and all that, because the cane toad actually can produce toxic glands from its skin.
When sufficiently stressed, or appropriate pressure applied to the skin, a sticky, milky poison that secretes from its pores and absorbs into the skin. While not typically fatal to humans, this poison has been shown on numerous occasions to be fatal to a number of Australian wildlife, from cats to dogs to saltwater crocodiles. Symptoms of this bufotoxin can include increased heart rate, irritation, increased salivation, and disorientation, with worse symptoms including convulsions, paralysis, temporary blindness, and even death.
In terms of the Indom 2.0, the shrew might be able to resist a bunch of the infection, but the shrew in the Indom 2.0 might be able to resist some of the toxin, but then again, this is cane toad toxin, not snake toxin, nor shrew toxin. So, I could be extremely wrong here. A lot of people also got away with using the stonefish.
This poisonous little toad has had a devastating effect on its ecosystem, and it's these very traits that I plan to use to finish our hybrid. Not only will our hybrid be a more proactive hunter, going after anything it can fit into its jaws, the toad's vocal sac will amplify the already deep bellows and rumbles of our croc's calls for a more intimidating display.
I'd go as far as to say it does not help its case against the Indom 2.0, because the Indom 2.0 will have no self-preservation instincts anyway. Basically no self-preservation instincts, and it's going to attack it anyway without hesitation.
In a physical fight, any attacker runs the risk of coming in contact with the poison. Without the proper resistance, those afflicted will struggle to fight and think to their full capacity. And against a hybrid as deadly as ours, a single mistake could be fatal. As you can see behind me, our beast has gone through a number of revisions and various changes in its process. All of this work could not have been possible without the efforts of our lead designer and flesh crafter. For this project, a special thank you to Gian. More on them later. Now then, let there be no more delays.
So let us recap this. We have the Dinosuchus as the base genome. And we have the Caprosuchus, Mosasaurus, T-Rex, Gastonia, Saichania, and finally the cane toad. Okay. This feels kind of promising, but at the same time, it does have a lot of flaws in it. And I mean, crocodilians aren't really the optimal build, because a lot of crocodilians, they just died. Because they didn't even make it to the honorable mentions.
Barbaro, Suchus, Gigas. But you can also call him Richter.
Okay, this actually admittedly looks like a very good, very intimidating, and quite practical crocodilian build. Even though only one creature is a crocodilian, which is the base of it. I mean, the colors itself are also quite cool, I'll admit. Hold on. This has a height of, okay, Okay. This size would have actually been more possible had you just added in Gen Mosasaurus. Because this size over here doesn't seem... Hold on. Could someone please... Okay. Let me try and measure this. Based on my calculations, it's around 17 meters long, which I don't think there's any genetic contributor that warrants such great lengths. Probably except for the Dinosuchus hatcherii, if the Dinosuchus hatcherii is exceptionally large, and, exceptionally long as well.
And there he is, Richter, my beautiful creature, and the fruit of my grand design. Before we finish things up here, let's go over his profile, as well as a few closing thoughts on this whole war that we've chosen to participate in. Let's begin. Richter's proper name is Caprosuchus gigas, translating to the barbarous crocodile giant, or giant barbarous crocodile. Length, approximately 55 feet.
Which actually isn't that far off from my estimate. My estimate was like 17.4 meters. This one is 16.8 meters. Okay. This is cool.
Height, 15 feet, measuring the tallest dorsal scales along the back and hips. Weight, up to 15 tons.
Which I'd say is not a gross overestimate like some of the Hall of Shame submissions. So, that is why it's not in the Hall of Shame, if it's even submitted at all.
Offensive features include a massive set of jaws with a bite force likely to be amongst one of the highest to ever exist. Rows of large, conical, serrated teeth perfect for gripping and crushing. 3 sets of elongated tusk-like fangs for delivering slashing head swings and piercing bites into the prey's body cavity. A heavily armored head and nose for ramming and bashing.
If I were to make a crocodilian, I'm just going to, try and actually focus on the jaws instead of trying to make it ram, because I don't want it to break its own neck when trying to ram. So, because, I don't really like to take risks. That's my nature.
A long and armored tail, flexible for swimming, and lined with durable armor and sharp spines that would slash at flesh like the teeth of a chainsaw. And finally, the death roll, one of the deadliest techniques this hybrid can use. Defensive features will include durable armor across the majority of the body, composed of hard scales, bony osteoderms, and keratin sheath spines. Increased armor coverage along the flanks and forearms to reduce vulnerability.
Okay. So, with this, it's... Okay, this one is quite congruent due to its low amount of contributors. The main issue I have with this is that this hybrid, like other crocodilians, isn't really the most agile thing in the world. So the Indom 2.0 has that agility advantage, which would prove very crucial for it winning this battle.
A debilitating poison released from the pores of the skin when adequately stressed or under attack. A high resilience to pain and injuries, and an impressive level of resistance to various kinds of disease and toxins. Other notable features include a fearsome appearance and a vocal sac for amplifying noise for fearsome displays of intimidation. An amphibious lifestyle, just as comfortable in a river or along a coastline as it is patrolling the land. Longer, sturdy legs for supporting its bulk, greater terrestrial movement, repositioning, pivoting, and even short, explosive bursts of speed.
It's not the best hybrid in the world, but in my opinion, this gets the job done. It's a fine hybrid. That's pretty much it. As long as it's not a terrible hybrid that is put in the Hall of Shame, I'm cool with it. Gilgamesh's hybrid is also not the best either, but it's functional. This thing is functional as well.
And an above-average intelligence, incredible senses involving smell, sight, hearing, and vibration detection, a powerful digestive system capable of breaking down nearly anything the creature swallows, an energy-efficient body that can go for long periods of time on minimal resources, internal air sacs for improved respiratory function and thermal regulation, durable claws for digging, and natural counter shading for improved camouflage and stealth.
I'm interested if this guy actually took a biology class, because bro actually knows quite a bit about biology, especially when it comes to respiration, anaerobic respiration. Anyway, for those of you who don't know why anaerobic respiration occurs, it's because when doing aerobic respiration, sometimes they produce not enough energy. That is why they will do anaerobic respiration to produce extra energy to meet the energy demands.
For some of my closing thoughts on the Great Hybrid War, I've really enjoyed it. All of this born from Goji Center's attempt to make a dinosaur capable of an extinction event with the Indominus 2.0, then fueled by its conflict with Goji Guy's Hank.
It's more so Goji Guy trying to kill the Indom 2.0 using Hank as a joke, but then Goji Center just slapped it with a realism shtick, and then a lot of people just began to create hybrids to try and kill the Indom 2.0. For example, Dangerville's Tyrannosaurus Rex, Madly Mesozoic Samson, as well as a bunch of other creations like My Hybrid, Gilgamesh, Maddie, and a bunch of others.
I honestly can't imagine either creator could have seen any of this coming, and considering that the contest from my last approximation had about 1,600 plus submissions.
1,655 submissions. You're welcome.
So it's pretty clear the impact it's made on the internet as a whole. After all, I wouldn't have started this channel or made this video had it not been for them. Richter really ended up becoming a passion project for me. The puzzle that was not just creating some monster with a lot of cool abilities that could win a fight, but actually designing a creature that had to live with all of its components, that had to actually function as a living creature, while taking down a creature as well designed as the Indominus 2.0 became truly fascinating to me. I've probably viewed tens of different hybrid videos, all claiming they will crush the Indom or destroy Hank.
Okay, Kratos claimed that it would destroy Hank, but it ended up being in the Hall of Shame and being shamed by Goji Center, as Kratos is called Hank's younger brother, causing Goji Guy to say, "Oh god, Hank doesn't need more relatives, guys."
And while some of them do vary in quality, I was genuinely happy to see the amount of creativity and the different ideas on display. Originally, I was also going to include a fight script as well as a sort of Q&A section to answer a few questions that people might have regarding Richter, but this video is getting a bit too long and I want to release it sooner, so those will likely be their own videos in the future if people would like that. Feel free to let me know in the comments. But to close on a point that I was going to make in that video about how I designed Richter, I designed him with the intention that he would win about 55% of the time.
Okay, fair enough analysis. For me at least, the Indom 2.0 would probably win like 60% of the time. I'm not trying to glaze this guy, but the Indom 2.0 has many more advantages when it comes to stuff like agility and all that.
Against the Indominus 2.0 up to maybe 60%. In a contest to submit a hybrid that is designed to beat the Indominus, it might seem a bit odd. I'll go into more details when I make that Q&A video, but to keep it short, I wanted Richter to feel like a rival to the Indominus 2.0, with a greater emphasis on being a living creature he would fight, as opposed to a weapon designed to counter it. But what do you think? Let me know down below.
Okay, so basically a bunch of motivations for creating a creature. For example, Hank is just revenge. Tyrannosaurus Rex is I don't freaking know. Samson is, whatchamacallit. Samson is to try and save humanity. my hybrid's motivation is to just be retribution, serve justice. Gilgamesh is, I don't know. Maddie is just very ultra specific, and then this hybrid is just a good combat animal.
Thanks for watching. If you've made it this far, then I am thankful for you taking the time out of your day to visit my little clinic. Special thanks again to Gion for their incredible art skill in helping to bring Richter to life. Links to their VGen and other accounts will be included below. I had originally planned to release this video about a week after I submitted Richter to the contest, but my misunderstanding in how to format a YouTube video, as well as learning the basics of recording and editing, took a bit longer than expected. As my first YouTube video, I'm quite proud of this, but of course I would love some peer reviews and feedback of any kind. Any feedback, criticisms, or suggestions will be acknowledged and greatly appreciated. Expect more to come in the future. But for now, this is HarrisTsangYT, signing off.
This is a well done hybrid submission. I'm gonna admit, it's actually among one of the better submissions. However, I still feel like it doesn't really beat the Indom 2.0. It just kind of shows that the standards of beating Indom 2.0, it's kind of low in terms of hybrid war standards, because a lot of creatures, they can't really defeat the Indom 2.0 more times. Man. But anyway, good effort, bro. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you all next one.